Welcome, everyone, to the Last Gasp Fantasy Sports Podcast, coming to you live from the Coaches Podcast Room here at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visors, located at Celebration Point here in Gainesville, Florida. My name is TJ White, and my co-host Brad isn't with us today. He's via Zoom, so he's on the phone. He's going to be talking with us for the first half hour of the show, but to fill his place here in the studio, we've got a good friend of mine, Cory Berstler, is going to fill in for him, talk about all fantasy today, talk about things like that. And I'm excited to have him on the show. He's been a friend of mine for years, loves football, loves fantasy, and it's great to have him on here. I want to thank our sponsors, Archer Electric Services Company, Piesano Stone-Fired Pizza, Weeby Marketing, and Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visors. And also one of our newest sponsors, Door-to-Door Transport. Go check them out on our website. We have all of the sponsors pages on there where you can go call them, check out their locations, see where they're at, and give them a shout and tell you heard about us on the Last Gasp Fantasy Podcast. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, at Last Gasp Fantasy Podcast every Sunday morning starting at 11 a.m. So if you're on here right now, you're tuning in. We love it. It's good to see you guys. Glad you're here. Make sure that you click that like and notification bell button on YouTube and on Facebook. Remember, on the bottom of each show, there's the comment section. Send in your comments. We'll answer them live on the air, and we'll go back and forth between me and Cory on who to start and who to sit. So we can also be found on all the social media platforms and on 39 other podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcast, Overcast, and many other locations. So anywhere you choose to listen, we're glad to have you on here and there listening to us on every Sunday morning. Go check us out at www.lastgasfantasy.com and email us any questions during the week. So if you have something on Monday or Tuesday and you need help with it, I've got 4 or 5 text messages this week alone asking what we're doing and how we're going, and should I start this person, should I sit this person going into Thursday? So you can email those questions to lastgaspfantasy@gmail.com. And this week on the show with my special guest, Cory, here, we'll be talking about Piesano's Last Gasp of the Week, which is the question that is posted on Wednesday, and it's out there right now. So make sure you go on there, submit your like, follow, share that, and answer the question on the week. We'll be talking about the biggest surprises of the week, top performers of the week. Who was our biggest disappointment? Cory's biggest disappointment. Brad's on the air. It'll be his biggest disappointment. And then later in the show, there's a long laundry list of injury players. So we'll be going there, talking about that, figuring out who to start, who's not starting, who's questionable, and going from there. So we're super excited to get this going. And Cory, it's great to have you on, man. How you doing today?
Thanks, man. I'm really excited to be here. I've always grown up being a big football fan, big Giants fan, which has been rough the last decade. But I really enjoy it. I'm glad to be here. Always played fantasy football. Been doing it since my sophomore year of college.
Nice.
Used to play up to 4 leagues, but I'm down to 1 right now. But you've been to our draft. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
I love fantasy football. It's a cool way to get your friends together, hang out, watch all the games.
Yeah.
It's an awesome experience.
No, it was my first time this year at your draft, and it was a wild, wild time. It's a long process, but it's great. You're there, camaraderie, hanging out, having a good time. It's great. It's great, man. And we're glad to have you on here. Glad to fill in for Brad. And it's great. Brad, are you there? You doing good, man? It's good to hear from you. You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm listening. We're going to have a great show today.
All right, man. Well, it's good to hear you on here. We're moving forward, and I just wanted to remind everybody, Piesano's Last Gasp of the Week is sponsored by Piesano's Stone-Fired Pizza. It is live on Facebook. Go submit your entry now. You'll have until the end of this show. So you can, while you're listening, go click on it. Go check it out. You can answer the question. The winner of that question will get a $25 gift card to Piesano's. The great pizza, great food. If you've never had their garlic rolls.
I like the little garlic cheesy bites.
Oh, they're delicious. And the little knots with the drizzle on them, it's fantastic. And so this question this week is, which running back will lead in reception yards in week 3 games? So it's a running back reception. So it's a kind of a little tongue twister there, but it's how many catches a running back will have. And then the tiebreaker will be his total running yards and reception yards. So say the name of the running back you think is going to have the most receptions and put a total yardage on there. And if you're the right guy and you get the win, you get the gift card. So we're glad to have you on here. Just remember to like, follow, and share that contest. And we're happy to move it, man. It's great. Brad, I think you're going to go over a little bit of recap here and talk about some things, man, and talk about what you saw during the week and how's it going. And we'll start getting into some details here, bud.
Yeah, week one we had mostly a quarterback and wide receiver weeks. Our running backs kind of let us down. Week two, our running back came back. Dalvin Cook with Minnesota, 22 carries, 131 yards, 21.8 fantasy points. Had a great game.
No,
He
no,
got a little nicked up this week though.
Yeah, dude, you're right. Dude, when he actually was fantastic for Minnesota, and I'm going to talk about them a little bit later. But he really is a bell cow. And you mentioned he might be a little dinged up. I mean, that's a concern for Minnesota fans.
Yeah, definitely. If he's hurt, he's their workhorse. So you definitely want to make sure that he's in. And if he's not, you want to be able to get Alexander Madison, his backup.
Yeah. So I mean, Brad, 21.8 from a running back, and that's phenomenal for him. So it's great to see him healthy. And I mean, for the last week at least, maybe not this week, but I mean that's great, Brad.
Yeah. And then, we moving on to the Cowboy game. Zeke and Tony Pollard together had 20 carries and 180 yards. Zeke was 16 for 71 and a touchdown. Pollard was 13 carries for 109 yards and a touchdown for 28 points this week. I mean, is Pollard your new handcuffed running back? Is he going to be a valuable start every week now?
I mean, that's as I know that you're a Dallas fan, and it's great to have an abundance of wealth at the running back position like that, having Zeke and then Pollard. If you're a Cowboys fan, I think it's great to have Pollard taking off the hits from Zeke and letting Zeke be fresh 17 weeks in, 18 weeks in, and hopefully they're making the playoffs. And hopefully that he's still healthy there. That's been the problem with Zeke over the years, is he's gotten a little banged up back and forth,
Yeah, if you're only relying on one running back, it's hard. It's nice to have a second option so each running back can stay fresh.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too. We just talked about it with Dalvin Cook, is that if he gets banged up, you go to somebody who doesn't have that experience in the Madison running back. But here, if you've got Pollard taking catches out of the backfield and then Zeke running the ball at the middle, the pounding ground, the only thing for fantasy is you don't want that. As a fantasy league owner, you don't want the touches away from your bell cow running back and going to Pollard, because you don't know every week if he's going to guarantee you those 15 or 20 points you need to win the league.
Yeah, it's one of those tough things that with running backs nowadays, there's not a lot of teams that have one guy.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to balance out who's getting the most. And the Cowboys are definitely a team that you want to watch on who is going to carry the load.
Yeah. And I mean, Brad, if he was drafted on the first round by, every league that I've seen, and he was a top 10 pick. And to have your number one pick in a draft, having to split carries and points with another guy, that's tough, man. That's tough. I'm going to go with
another bell cow,
yeah.
Christian McCaffrey had 24 carries for 72 yards, a touchdown, 5 catches for 65 yards, and that was 24.7 points. But if you watch Thursday night's game, he did get hit and get nicked up quite a bit. Chuba Hubbard, is he the next running back for the Carolina Panthers?
Well, I mean, that's a great point, Brad. Christian McCaffrey was the consensus number one pick in the draft. I mean, in any fantasy league, he was number one. It was great to see. He had been carrying the load there in Carolina. He's been a monster for points. But like you said, we all saw it Thursday night. He comes up limping, kind of like an AR, Anthony Richardson here at Florida, where he comes up with a hamstring issue, kind of pulls up tight, and you could see immediately that he was not healthy, and they walked him back to the locker room.
Yeah, currently they're not going to put him on IR, so he might only be out a couple games, but it is something you want to watch. And I saw that they were mixing in receivers, they were changing around who was going to run. So that's a tough one with who to start in his place.
And I mean, that's a in my opinion, that's a minimum 4-week injury, regardless if it's just a pull or a tightening or a cramp or a tighten up there. It is one of those things that'll just tighten up, and it's not going to be healthy, and it's not worth risking him for week 2 and 3 or week 3 and 4 if you want him there for week 7 and 8 in that division. So I think this does open the door up for Chuba Hubbard as the backup there. He's going to get some more touches. He's going to get some more playing time. And as a fantasy league owner, you need to be looking out there and seeing what his production is over the next couple of weeks to see if you want to add him on your team.
Yeah, and Chuba Hubbard, great name, just great name.
You can't pay for some of these names that are out there. Name. All right, man. Next one there, Brad.
Let's go on and talk. Let's talk about my comeback player of the week, Aaron Rodgers. It was the Aaron times 2 show. You have Aaron Jones, 17 for 67, a touchdown, 6 catches for 48 yards, 3 more touchdowns. and Aaron Rodgers throwing for 4 touchdowns. What a great comeback for Aaron Rodgers. What a great week. He ended up with 35 points this week.
Yeah, no, I have to eat my pride a little bit on that one, Corey. I dogged Aaron Rodgers last week sitting right here at this table.
Yeah.
And I thought he was going to be another choke. Well, I mean, I'm still on that bus. I'm still on that train. He's terrible.
Owning it.
I'm going to own it up. He threw, I think, 3 balls past the line of scrimmage this week.
A lot of the touchdowns to Aaron Jones were little short dump passes, but sometimes that's going to be the way that gets you in the end zone. So that's what you got to do.
I know, and I'm just, I praise Tom Brady for doing the same thing that Aaron Rodgers is doing at the same age or a little bit younger, and he's always throwing those dink dives and not throwing it long, and then I'm ridiculing Rodgers, and he throws for 4 TDs, and and it's like, man, he was 1 yard away, and he throws it to a touchdown and gets a pass instead of diving in.
I will have to say I have Aaron Jones, so it helped me out a lot.
Yeah, if you had Aaron Jones last week and lost, there's something. You played somebody who just was amazing.
Yeah.
Brad, that goes into my number one running back pick. My number one running back pick in the beast of the week, Derrick Henry. 35 rushes, 182 yards, 3 touchdowns, followed up with 6 catches for 55 more yards and 57.7 points in fantasy leagues.
Wow. I mean, that alone is unreal. Just like with Aaron Rodgers there, I expected Derrick Henry to do this, and he laid a goose egg. He was my disappointment.
Yeah, week 1, yeah.
He was my disappointment for week 1. He absolutely showed why his 5th year, I think this is his 4th or 5th year in the league, and he is unreal. You nailed it last week, Brad. You said that he's going to be good. Don't trade him. Don't get rid of him. Don't jump off the bandwagon. And I'm glad you said that, because he absolutely carried that team in a tough place to play too. It was in Seattle. They were on the road. They were down early, and he put them on their back and walked them to the house.
It was a wild game. He didn't really have that good of a first half, and then he just came out in the second half and really carried them. That was a crazy comeback.
Yeah.
They were down big, and he just kept scoring, getting those points.
And the thing is they went into OT and then ended up winning the game. I mean, that's you can't ask for much more from your bell cow running back. You were just talking about it, that you don't have a single running back. I don't know if anybody else, other running back, touched the ball that week.
You keep looking at Derrick Henry thinking that with all the carries and how much work he's put in that he might start falling off, and he just hasn't yet. He just keeps going. He's a big guy, obviously.
Yep.
And he just keeps carrying the load for the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, man, it's great. I want to take this break for a second here to thank our sponsors, Archer Electric Services Company. They are bringing over 30 years of leadership and experience in both commercial and residential and electric needs to the Gainesville and surrounding communities. I want to say a special thanks to Piesano Stone-Fired Pizza. Whether you're looking for a quick lunch or dinner destination to meet up with friends and family, Piesano's is your place. Celebrate life's most memorable moments with delicious dishes, whether in our dining room or yours. Also, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visors. Come check this place out. They're great here at Celebration Point. Friendly, great staff. And Weebly Marketing for putting this on, and they do a phenomenal job on the back end here, keeping this podcast and the live videos going. So I want to thank all you guys for all your continued support. If you would like to be a sponsor, go check out our webpage and send us an email, and you can send to be a sponsor. We still got some openings there. We'd love to support your business, local or not local, and it's just great. Come on and talk to us, and we'll be willing to work with you. So it's a great thing, and we really appreciate y'all looking on here. We got a question on Facebook here. With Dalvin Cook out with an injury this week, who do you trust? Do you trust starting Madison?
I would. There's not another back there that's really going to – they'll have someone come in on third down every now and then, but Dalvin Cook is their workhorse, and with him out, Madison's going to get 20 to 30 carries this week. Seattle can be a tough defense, but as you saw last week, Derrick Henry put up a lot of yards and points, so Madison would be a good person to pick up and start.
And I think, Brad, if you had a choice, would you start Madison?
Again, it all depends on who I got on my bench. I think Madison's going to be a valuable fill-in for Cook this week. Again, like Corey said, seeing what Derrick Henry did running over Seattle, I think Madison's going to be a good pickup this week if you have nobody on the bench to play.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point there, Brad. Is that if if you're that low in your depth on the fantasy running back spot and you need a flex play, it might be a great pickup. It might be worth the risk this early in the season to pick him up and throw him in a flex position. You know, I tried it with Peyton Barber last week, and it kind of fell on my face. I think he had like 4 points and didn't do much for me. But you know, like you say, if you need help and you don't have running backs that are healthy, he's a great pickup.
It's one of those things with the running back position nowadays. If you can get someone that's getting the bulk of the touches for any team, it's someone that you definitely at least want on your roster.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. You want touches and you want an opportunity to score points.
Yeah.
And he's going to have it this week. With
And he
Cook
could have
questionable.
if he's still playing in next week,
Yep.
he's going to get enough touches that maybe he has a breakout game.
Yeah. We got also another Facebook Live question. Remember, go to Facebook, enter your comment. Also on YouTube, enter your comments. We're on live on both platforms. We love getting these questions in. This is what it's about to interact with you. Also, will the Jags score more than 10 points this week? And that's harsh. That's brutal. They've scored more than 10 points both first weeks, didn't they? I think they got right at 10 last week or something. But they put up good numbers on the first week and of course at Texans. But I think they do score more than 10 points. Don't give up on Trevor Lawrence. Don't give up on Urban Meyer. They might not have a great season, but there's going to be fantasy points scored there.
With the 10 points, I think they're probably not going to win against Arizona. Arizona's good. They've got a good defense, really good pass rush. Jacksonville's offensive line is really suspect, but I'm assuming they're going to pick up at least a couple garbage touchdowns towards the end of the game. I'd say definitely over 10 points.
Yeah, so definitely. One of the things we're starting moving into now
I'm
is
going
the
with
previous.
the under on this one.
Oh, you're good. Oh,
all right.
Okay, Brad.
I'm going with the under on this one, guys. Trevor Lawrence reminds me of Jameis Winston.
No, I mean, Brad, I think, you might be right here. You might nail this, that they're just that bad that 10 points is just not going to, that'll be a blessing if they get 10 points. So, it's great. As we move forward, the surprise games of the week are what we're going to talk about now, and surprise players and who was your biggest disappointment and moving forward there. The biggest thing for me and my biggest surprise game of last week was the Ravens beating the Chiefs. I mean, it was in Baltimore. It was home, but the Ravens had just got off losing to the Raiders in Vegas on Monday Night Football. They both played great, and for Lamar Jackson to carry that team the way he's doing it is something that should not be forgotten. He's scoring great fantasy points. That game could have gotten out of hand really quick with the Chiefs. They hung in there. There was a bad turnover late in that game.
Yeah.
But still, it's if he's on your fantasy team, great pick, great job getting him, and he's done great for that team. And I mean, Mahomes wasn't bad either last week, but to just see what Lamar Jackson's doing by himself with a limited running back situation, it's unreal.
They have so many different running backs that they've had to pick up because of injuries. So they're on, I think, their 8th running back that they've had to sign. So there's so many guys that they're trying to rotate in. That game was really cool. And if you see at the end of the game, I don't know if you saw the video where Harbaugh asked Lamar if he wants to go for it on 4th and 1. They go for it. They get it. Game over.
Yeah.
Cool moment to just see.
He goes, hey, it's your decision.
Yeah,
you're the captain of this team. You make the call, man. It's great.
Yeah.
Brad, I think you had a surprise week too, didn't you?
Yeah, I have a surprise of the week, and mine is the Chicago defense. Not about Justin Fields taking over the game in the second half because of Andy Dalton's injury, but it's the defense. 5 sacks, 3 interceptions, a fumble recovery, a touchdown. With that defense, it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback.
No, you're right. No, it's such a security blanket there in Chicago to have the defense that almost has just always been there. It feels like it's kind of like the Steelers. They're always there, and they're always going to keep you in a game. And as a rookie quarterback coming into the league, knowing that you can be conservative, even with Andy Dalton as your quarterback, if you can be conservative, it's such a good thing to have.
With that game, it was so close, and then Roquan Smith had a pick 6 and kind of broke it open. The Bengals ended up scoring a little bit late, but they'd already built that cushion with the defense that they were able to hold on and get the win.
And that going into the season, that division was probably going to be my pick for the hardest division, and they're all 1-1 right now. I think the Baltimore, the Steelers, Cincinnati, and Cleveland are all 1-1, and so that's going to be a very tight. That's going to be a division race that goes down to the wire, and so it's going to be interesting to see how when they start playing head to head, what's it going to turn out to be. What was your biggest surprise of the week?
My biggest surprise, kind of going off of your game, was the Raiders. They had that big emotional, crazy game
Yeah.
week 1 on Monday night, scored a ton of points in the second half, win in overtime off of, like, they win, it gets called back, they win again. They then go east in week 2 and go against the Steelers in Pittsburgh and are able to pull off the victory. David Carr looks like a QB1 for your fantasy team, putting up a lot of points. Josh Jacobs didn't play week 2, and with Kenyon Drake, they were able to get enough of the run game, and David Carr and Henry Ruggs were able to pull out a victory against a good Steelers team.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing too. On short rest, and that matters in the NFL is
Yeah.
rest. That playing that many days apart, you never really want to be they never do the Monday Thursday. They'll
Yeah.
do Monday and then late Sunday. But to have to go there and win is
go east.
Yeah, I mean, coming time zones, and for them to be what they're doing this early in the season, I thought they would get better, but to be 2-0 after 2 weeks and playing Baltimore and the Steelers
Yeah.
is better than you could ever ask for.
Yeah.
So, that's a great thing. We've got a few Facebook questions. Does Josh Allen manhandle Washington this week, Brad?
Yes.
I mean, that's a direct, straight answer. Yeah. I like it, but I'm pessimistic on that. As much as you want to say is going to be good, you have to think after being 35-0 against Miami, there's going to be some.
There'll be a little bit of letdown.
There's got to be a letdown on that, and so he's been, his first week was bad. He got beat by the Steelers at home, and it was kind of like a hit in the face, like a punch in the mouth. Now he comes into this week. They did very well. The defense is what carried him last week. Brad, you talked about the defense with Chicago. The Bills were just all over with Tua out. The other guy with Brissett in there, they were all over him last week.
Yeah, with the Bills, the Washington defensive line is really good. So you want to, as long as the Bills can protect Josh Allen, I think he could have a really good week.
No, yeah, it's great. We also got another question. Would you play Tony Pollard or Quintez Cephas as a flex in a half-point PPR league? I mean, to me, in a half-point PPR league, the wide receiver is the one that you're trying to get a little bit here. And so Pollard is going to get the touches with Zeke, and it's going to be a hit or miss. I think you go with the wide receiver in the flex position there. What do you, Brad? And that's your team, man. Those are your guys. What are you thinking?
I agree with you on this one. With the flex and with the PPR, you've got to go with the wide receiver. Pollard's going to get his touches. Pollard's going to get his yards. But on a PPR league, you want those extra points.
Yeah, even in a half point PPR,
they all add up.
Yeah, so that's the thing, and that was a question that was asked. Similar with Sterling Shepard and the running back Williams from Baltimore last week was who do we play there? And if the final numbers were Williams, I think had 1.5 points more than that on that week last week. So some of those are just coin flips, and it's who you believe is playing a better defense. Always check that too. When you're looking at starting a flex player or somebody on a taking a shot on the whim, you don't want to start them against the number one defense.
Yeah.
You want to take a chance on them playing the 31, 32 ranked defense and playing somebody who has a history of giving up points and receptions.
Yeah.
So the surprise performance of the week, is to me, and it was kind of mentioned a little bit on the Monday night game when we talked about it on the recap for Brad was, Aaron Jones just signed that monster contract and was a little bit of letdown against the New Orleans on the first week of this week one, and he comes out 17 touches, 63 yards and a TD. He catches 6 passes out of the backfield for 48 yards and 3 Ds. Hey, he might be one of the picks that somebody makes this week on the last Gasp question of the week. On Monday Night Football, and I think they were losing at half. I think Detroit had the lead or was tied. It was a close game, and he comes out and absolutely manhandles Detroit for the rest of that game, and it's just unreal to see what he was doing there, and you got to give him his kudos for that. Brad,
he helped me get a victory. I was down 20 going into Monday night. I got a big game from him. It was good to see my first round pick bounce back after a bad week one.
Yeah, we got another question on Facebook. How about Robbie Anderson? He had a bad week last week, but do I give him another chance this week? Corey, do you give him a chance this week?
I probably wouldn't. I'd wait and see. I'd leave him on the bench, and then if he does start getting more targets, the big one sometimes with the wide receivers is you want to look at the targets, and sometimes they're not getting the catches, but I'd store him on the bench and then see how it goes this week.
I mean, I think that's great advice. You want to see production before you put him on your lineup, and you want to see consistency out of a guy. And it's if you're not getting that, don't stick with him. Go on the line, go out there, find somebody who is doing that if he's available. If there's a player available, if not, try to trade him or something like that when his value's high. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if we'd start him. I'd keep him on the bench this week and see how he does, and then see when you're running backups or one of your guys off the bench.
Yeah.
Brad, who was your surprise performer of the week?
Let me just. Well, first of all, let me clarify on Robbie Anderson real quick. He's already played, guys, so don't play him. He played in the Thursday night game. He did horrible. Don't play him.
I love it, man. Thanks, dude.
If you haven't played him yet, don't play him. My surprise player of the week was Tony Pollard. To come off the bench as a running back to get 13 carries, 109 yards, with Zeke as your leading running back touch person. I mean, he played a great game as a handcuff running back. I think he will be a viable flex player in a regular standard league.
Yeah, for sure. You nailed that right on, Brad. He's one of those guys that he's going to get touches, and he's pretty electric with the ball.
He took advantage of the opportunity that he was given and really made the most of his touches.
Yeah, no, it's great to see him and being explosive off the ball like that and moving that way. Cory, who was your surprise performer of the week?
I went with Cortland Sutton on the Denver Broncos. With Jerry Jeudy, he got hurt week 1 against the Giants, so Sutton had to really step up. Teddy Bridgewater has looked good, targeted Sutton a lot. He had 9 catches on 12 targets for 159 yards. Didn't get in the end zone, but still a big game.
Yep.
With Jeudy out for a little bit, like a decent amount.
He's on IR, I think.
That Sutton would be a big person to look at. And if you aren't starting him, I would keep him in the starting lineup.
Yeah, he's IR right now. He was on IR till week 7 or 8. I think Judy's out. So
yeah,
he's definitely a guy to keep an eye on. And he's it's funny, the other day I saw Sam Perkins tweet or did something like that, and he said you could put Teddy Bridgewater anywhere and he's going to perform like he's doing. And he's kind of done that over his career. He's kind of bounced around different places and has just excelled where he's at. And he's not a big guy, but he's just done well.
He's not going to be a quarterback that you want to start in fantasy, but he is efficient enough to give you a chance to start some of the receivers and running backs that are around him.
Yeah. One of my biggest disappointments of the week were that Miami team down south. I talked highly of them last week. I know losing your quarterback is a tough thing to do, but when you go into Foxborough the week before and you beat the Patriots on their home field, and then you come out and score a goose egg.
Yeah, opener.
You don't put a point on there. You don't do anything. That is a morale that's terrible. Mm-hmm. And so that was my biggest disappointment of the week. Brad, what was your biggest disappointment of the week?
I'm going to go back to those Jaguars, Jacksonville. I mean, Trey Lawrence came out. He came out in the first series. He drove down the field, looked good, and then went to interceptions. Again, it was too much, reminding me of the Jameis Winston's years in Tampa.
Yeah, no, it's you nailed it, dude. We talked about the boom or bust with him, and the first week was the boom, and the last week was the bust. So it's all. I mean, he did real well the first week, and then this week with Trevor Lawrence going down a little bit. So first week fantasy points was great. That this week it's not. I mean, it's going to be a roller coaster if you're starting him. I have him in my league. I picked up Stafford as a backup. Yeah. I'm going to keep him, and I think he's going to get better. So who was your disappointment of the week?
It's kind of funny that Brad brought up the Jameis Winston thing because my big disappointment was the Saints. I know they've been out of town due to the hurricane issue in Louisiana, so they played the first game in Jacksonville. Great game. They look great against the Packers. Yep. They come out week 2 against Carolina, and the Jameis Winston coin toss of what you're going to get from him. You get awesome Jameis week 1. You get terrible Jameis week 2. They only put up 128 total yards against Carolina. Look awful. Get tough. Blown out 26-7.
Yeah.
And 26-7 is a way closer score than what that game was. Yeah. It was never close, and the Saints just looked like they didn't even want to be there.
Wow. Yeah, I mean that is a thing too. When you see teams that look so good one week and then the next week they're terrible, it's just, as a fan, it's hard to take.
It's a weird one with the early on in the season where you're trying to judge who's good, who's not, and who you want to start, and you think that I picked Jameis as my backup, And he looked great week 1. I thought I was a genius. Week 2, he does nothing. And now I don't even know if I want to keep him on my roster.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break here. Take a couple minutes to thank our sponsors. And when we get back, we'll answer those Facebook questions. Keep them coming. We love it. And have a great one.
Looking for more reasons to celebrate? We have them here at Celebration Point. Enjoy some of the newest additions to our already celebratory lineup, like Dave & Buster's, Les Macarons, and Prime and Pearl. There's always a reason to celebrate. Join us anytime for any occasion. Celebration Point, where Gators come to celebrate.
Oh my gosh! I can't even believe this! Look what you have done to my truck!
Excuse me, it's your fault, it's not my fault.
Yes, it is your fault!
No,
I am calling Jeffrey Meldon from Meldon Law.
So I'm gonna call Jeffrey, my husband.
Meldon Law, this is Jeffrey speaking.
Jeffrey!
This crazy lady here, this crazy lady here might...
New client? Yes, but this one might be a little tricky.
Are you tired of being sidelined by nagging pain? Hi, I'm Emmitt Smith, Hall of Famer and Dance with the Stars champion. Happy to tell you about QC Kinetics and their biologic therapies for treating pain without drugs or surgery.
Are you suffering from chronic pain in your hips, knees, shoulder, or lower back? Are you tired of living with arthritis pain? QC Kinetics offers natural pain treatment that can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints.
Listen, I know pain, and I've seen firsthand how powerful biologic therapies can be. Patients at QC Kinetics rave about their result because they're getting their lives back. They're getting moving again.
These exciting regenerative treatments used to be available only to pro athletes like Emmitt. Now they're available to anyone thanks to QC Kinetics. Call today for your free consultation.
Get long-lasting results from my friends at QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. In North Central Florida, call 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Last Gasp Fantasies podcast, coming to you live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visors, located here at Celebration Point in Gainesville, Florida. I want to say a special thanks to our sponsors, Archer Electric Services Company, Piesano Stone-Fired Pizza, Weeby Marketing, and Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visors. You can find us again on Facebook Live, YouTube. We're live there at Last Gasp Fantasy Podcast every Sunday morning starting at 11 a.m. So come check us out. Make sure you follow and like us, share with your friends, and we really appreciate you here. Keep those questions coming in the comments right here. We've got a few to answer when we get back, and it's great to have everybody's interactions and involvement here. Corey, it's great to have you on here again, man. I'm glad you're here doing it. It's been a blast so far with the first half of the show, man, and it's been great so far.
Yeah, really enjoying it. I like the interaction. Some comments are hilarious. I can't help but laugh at some of them. It's an awesome time. I'm glad that we're getting the interaction. That really makes this a lot more fun.
Yeah, and so remember to follow us on, you can sign out our webpage at lastgaspfantasy.com or email us during the weeks at lastgaspfantasy@gmail.com, and we'll answer any of those questions or anything you need. Direct message us. We're here all week. I get it directly to my phone, and I'll help you win your league, hopefully. I mean, doing better than I am. I'm 1-3 in my 2 leagues, so hopefully I'll do better for you.
Well, I'm going to have to crush our champ, Blakey, this week. So
yeah, 2 times over there. Was it 3 times?
No, he's technically Timmy 2.5 times.
Oh, 2.5 times, that's all right. We're going to recap last week's scores on a couple of the picks and shows that we did. We were asked last week whether Big Ben or Aaron Rodgers would score more points. We said to sit Ben Roethlisberger and start Aaron Rodgers. It's no-brainer. Aaron Rodgers had 26.8 points in fantasy, and Big Ben had 19. I said Big Ben was going to be a bust. He had some yardage, but he just was not a good play.
He's always done it, but he's dealing with some injuries. He's getting old. I think the Steelers are holding on to him a little too long, and I don't think he's going to be a viable start in any league.
Yeah. We also go back to the Facebook Live questions. Are you expecting a big week from Tyler Boyd with T. Higgins out against Pittsburgh?
I would. Tyler Boyd really slots in their slot receiver position. He gets a lot of targets. With T. Higgins out, it leaves Jamar Chase and him, but Jamar Chase is more of a downfield threat. Tyler Boyd's going to get a lot of catches, a lot of targets, and will put up, I think, a pretty big game against Pittsburgh, especially with TJ Watt out. So while their offensive line stinks, it gives Burrow a little bit more time than he normally has.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned Chase.
Yeah,
he's been really good the first 2 weeks. He's been a consistent fantasy scorer, and it's great. And I think they're going to put their number one cover guy on him, which will free up Tyler Boyd for a big week this week. So I would start him, and I like that pick. Next question on Facebook Live was, does Tyreek Hill come back after a not so good week 2? You know, it's funny because he was opposite of Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has a terrible week 1 and great week 2. Tyreek had a great week 1 and not a week 2. If you have to play him. Every time he's out there on the healthy, you have to play him.
Have to play him. He's always a big play threat. I think the Ravens did a great job of just concentrating on stopping him and letting anyone else beat him. He's so fast that you're not going to stop him every week. The Chargers defense is better than it has been, but I think that game's going to be a shootout, and Tyreek Hill is going to probably have a big game.
Yeah, so that's great. You know, another question that we got asked last week was to start Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers. And Brad went with Aaron Rodgers, you know, as his comeback player of the week. I chose Lamar Jackson. And surprisingly, Lamar Jackson had more points than Aaron Rodgers last week. He carried him. He had 34.3 in the fantasy leagues. Aaron Rodgers had 26.8. But admittedly, you know, if you started Rodgers, you did pretty well.
If those are your choices that you get, you're doing a great job. There wasn't a bad choice of the two. Obviously, Lamar got more points, but Aaron Rodgers still had a big game. He is the reigning MVP. I don't think his week 1 performance, I think, is going to be the outlier and not the normal for this season.
Yep. And we're going to do a real quick recap of the top scores for standard and PPR. For PPR leagues, it's no surprise. Derrick Henry led, Aaron Jones, Cooper Kupp, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Tyler Lockett, and then with Tom Brady. And surprising to me, right here at number 8 is your guy, Danny Dimes, is the top 8 fantasy quarterback last week for a PPR league.
He had a lot of yardage, was throwing the ball pretty well, looked pretty good. They just don't get the ball in the end zone when they need to. So as a fan, that hurts. And also, if you're rooting for Danny Dimes to get touchdowns, they don't seem to have a good red zone offense, so that could hurt you coming up.
Yep. And that same list it's very similar and the same with the standard leagues, same order, and it's great. I mean, the surprise on the standard scoring though with me was Kirk Cousins coming in at 10 down there, where you know he gets in on a top 10 points of the whole league out of Minnesota. You know, it's good to see him because you could have picked him up in the 15th round.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins is another one of those guys. Coin flip of what game you're going to get. He could either be awesome, he's getting 350, couple touchdowns, or he's just not going to show up and you get the 10 for 17 for like 150 yards.
Yeah. And so with that being said, we recapped last week's. We're moving into this week's. We're going to go over the injury report. It's a long list. We're going to kind of get it out there, get you guys to hear some names, talk about viable backups. We're going to run through this list and kind of go over each person and who their backup might be to start with.
Yeah.
I'm going to run through the list, and then we'll pick out a few that we want to talk about and kind of go over it with.
Okay.
Tua's out. He got hurt last week. Brissett's starting there. Andy Dalton is out this week. It's been ruled out. Fields will be starting there. He's going to finally get a start. I said it was week 4, week 5. Brad said it was going to be week 3. He hated that was because of an injury, but you know there it is. Tyrod Taylor is out in Houston.
Yeah,
he was out already, and so they had that in. Will Fuller was out. Also, once again, OBJ is active.
Yeah, he should be starting this week. Him on the Browns is a weird one because you'd think he would be awesome, but they don't seem to have the right chemistry.
Yep.
But he always is a big play threat.
Yep.
Could put up good numbers.
And that's Odell Beckham Jr. for you guys out there that don't know OBJ.
Yeah.
You know, I want to make sure that I hit all the fans out there. Darrell Henderson Jr. is not expected to play as one of the running backs in the Rams organization over there. So he's not expected to play. His backup, Sony Michel, should get some carries this week. He's a late waiver wire pickup. He's probably available on most leagues that don't know about it. So take a look out there and see if he's out there to grab him and roster him. If Henderson's out for a while, Sony Michel did well in New England when he was there.
And he's a good threat out of the backfield getting catches, so definitely in a PPR, even half PPR league, you would want to look at Sony Michel. Matt Stafford finally being on a good team, looks great, and if he's going to dump it off, Sony Michel's a good one to get at least a few targets out of the backfield.
Josh Jacobs is out again. You can pick up Peyton Barber or Kenyon Drake. It's both viable options out of there. Dalvin Cook is a big name, folks. He is unlikely to play. So we just talked about Mattson earlier. Look up Alexander Mattson. That's his backup. Going to have some points there, so keep an eye on them. Antonio Brown has got COVID for the 4th time in the last 3 weeks, so it seems like that. So he's out this week, so Antonio Brown is out. DeAndre Hopkins is questionable in Arizona. And you mentioned a guy when we first sat down here that you'd like to pick up as an option this week off the waiver wire.
He was our number 1 waiver wire pickup in my league. If he's available in yours, I would look at him. It's Rondale Moore out of Purdue. He's a new young receiver there in Arizona. Cliff Kingsbury always likes to throw it around, so that's going to be a big offensive performance in Arizona. And he also gets a lot of punt return yards. So if those count towards your league, he's another one that's a way to pick up an easy few points just off the punt returns.
Also questionable is Lamar Jackson, and it's not an injury; he's just ill, and he might. I think he's going to play, but keep an eye on him up to the time his game starts.
It looks like he will play. He only missed Thursday's practice, so he should play. And he's obviously a QB1. You get the rushing yards, you get the throwing.
We also have DeAndre Swift is questionable, Kenny Galladay is questionable, and T. Higgins is doubtful. We talked about it earlier in the show. So make sure you guys if you have any of those guys playing, you're looking out right before the game time to get your flex position in and your wide receiver position in and making sure you're filling that spot.
I will say, as a Giants fan, a good one with if Galladay is out is Darius Slayton. Everyone kind of knows about Steve Smith, but Darius Slayton is one that I would pick up because they're playing the Falcons. The Falcons look awful. I think if Danny Dimes has a performance like he did last week, Darius Slayton is someone that could get 2 touchdowns today.
And I think one of the things is he was a big pickup last week for us with Sterling Shepard on the opposite side there. So, you know, he's a guy that's been getting a ton of catches. I think he leads the league in attempts thrown at him.
Targets. So, Sterling Shepard's always a good one, but I feel like he'll probably be on a lot of rosters, so Darius Slayton would be one that would be a better pickup.
So we've talked about some of the waiver wire ads. We've talked about some of those things. Tony Pollard out of Dallas, Sony Michel out of LA, Rondale Moore, wide receiver out of the Cardinals, and then Teddy Bridgewater as a QB out of Denver. So if those guys are available, go check them out, grab them. They've been studs so far. You know, and as we're local here in Gainesville, I like to mention a couple Gator guys. Van Jefferson had a great week there coming out of LA on a third wide receiver, makes a great play, scores an 80-yard bomb. And a sleeper guy to watch out of Seattle is Freddie Swain. He's a third receiver there, but he's earning time, and that's big.
On all of those with the wide receivers, I like having them on the team. You don't know who's going to have the breakout, so it's kind of tough with especially the third receiver. In LA, you have Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, but Van Jefferson has broken out. Freddie Swain really making the most out of his opportunities, so he's a good one. They'll probably be in a decent shootout. Russell Wilson, great quarterback. So Freddie Swain's always a good play.
Yeah, it's a great decision there. I want to thank our sponsors, Archer Electric Services Company. They are bringing you over 30 years of leadership and experience in both commercial and residential electric needs to Gainesville and surrounding communities. Piesano's Stone-Fired Pizza. They're the sponsors of the last gas question of the week. Go on our page. You got about 15 more minutes to get those answers in, submittals in. Go on there, click it, enter your information, and then we'll see this week if you're the winner or not. So check it out. It's Piesano's Stone-Fired Pizza. Also want to say thanks to Weeby Marketing and Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visors for having us here at the Coach's Podcast Room. Thank you all, and this is just great. We love all our sponsors, and thank you for everything. Last week we did the picks of the week. I think Brad might have done a little better than me. I went 10-6. He nailed a few of them over me. I missed and swung on Jacksonville, Cincy, and Detroit, and I kind of was just hoping those would do well, but they kind of faltered for me. I nailed the Bucks covering by 50. You know, I said that. I said they were going to cover by 50. They gave up a few points at the end, but that's all right. Brad, I mean, how did you do, bud?
I was pretty hot. I said Chicago would come back. I didn't say they'd win. I never expected them to win, to be honest with you, but I did say that, you know, Fields would come in the game and they would come back. But so I did mess up that one. Besides that, I was pretty on spot. We both said that Winston was not going to do it again. I predicted Lamar Jackson to have a great game. and Baltimore pull out the upset. All my Cowboys coming back for week 2.
Yep.
Went with Carr in Las Vegas over Pitt. And, of course, Cleveland over Houston. Houston,
yeah,
they're almost as bad as Jacksonville. Jacksonville got a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Then finish off the week with my comeback player of the week and Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay winning that game.
Yeah, man, you nailed it last week, and I think I took the L last week. So, hopefully I'll pick it up this week. We're going to start this week off with Washington at Buffalo. They're getting 9.5 points. I think we all think Buffalo's going to take that. I think Washington's good, and they're coming up with Heineke, and they're going to get some fantasy points. But I think we all take Buffalo there. You're at Chicago and Cleveland. Cleveland is favored by 7.5. Who do you like on that one, Corey?
I like Cleveland. Justin Fields, it's going to be his first start in the NFL. Matt Nagy seems to not want to really start him. He's keeping Andy Dalton, but now he's in because of injury. Cleveland's defense isn't putting up the best numbers, but they do have a good roster, so hopefully they pick it up. And I just think that Cleveland has the edge, especially in Cleveland.
Next game is Baltimore at Detroit. Detroit's getting 9.5. And Brad, I think you have to pick Baltimore in this game, regardless of whether or not they're away and they've got some injuries at the running back. Correct?
Yeah, Lamar Jackson, he's just the X factor of this game. He's going to end up with a lot of rushing yards himself. He's not going to need that running back that much. So, yes, you got to go with Baltimore.
Yep. The next game is Indianapolis at Tennessee. Tennessee is a 5.5-point favorite. You know, I heard the other day when I was listening to another podcast and listening to a show that until Carson Wentz shows me he can do something, I can't select them, and I've got Tennessee winning that game pretty easy. The next game is L.A. Chargers at the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City is getting 6.5. Corey, I think we're surprised a little bit by the Chargers 1-1 start, but do you got the Chiefs in this game?
I have the Chiefs in this game straight up. I think that with the way that both teams play, the Chiefs are a little bit better. The Chargers always seem to play them well, though, so it is one to look at. Also, I just think it's going to be a shootout. Both quarterbacks really throw the ball well.
Yep.
I think there's going to be a lot of points in that game.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is both games that the Chargers have played have been real close. They lost it last week on a kick. You know, it's surprising. Dallas lost the first week on kicks and then come back this week and win it on kicks over the Chargers on a 50.
Greg the leg, man.
Yeah, Greg the leg buries it right down the middle.
Yeah.
You know, as a Dallas fan, it's a roller coaster right now. Next game, we got New Orleans at New England. New England is a 2.5-point favorite.
Yeah.
So they're losing 2.5, and if you want a game that's going to be controversial, this game is going to be. I mean, New Orleans lays an egg, and then New England loses the first week, comes back and gets a W last week, and it's in New England. Who do you got, Brad? Do you like New England or New Orleans in this one?
I like New England. I think the defense for New England is going to step up. Winston's going to continue to be Winston and keep on throwing those interceptions. And the New England defense is going to pull this out for New England.
I got you, man. I like it. Atlanta at the Giants. And the reason I waited for this one for a little bit later is that this is going to be a barn burner, folks. I mean, the score here might be 100-100, but I'm going to let Corey pick this game.
I don't want to be a homer pick, but the Falcons look so bad.
Yeah.
And it's in New Jersey. So I got to go with the Giants. I don't know if they cover, but I think they will get the win. Matt Ryan's starting to show, or not starting, is showing his age.
Yep.
They have a lot of weapons, but they can't seem to utilize them all. Atlanta looks really bad. The Giants are bad, but Atlanta is really bad.
And I think, if you were going to put two 0-2 teams against each other in week 3, this one's got to take the cake. I mean, Kyle Pitts was an early pick in some drafts for Atlanta. He produced last week versus what he did the first week for fantasy points wise. So, I agree with you. The only reason I would pick the Giants in this game is because it's in New Jersey. That's the only reason I'm picking them, and they're wearing blue, and I like Gator blue. So the next game, Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. Brad, who do you like in that game? Is it Pittsburgh to win or lose?
Pittsburgh's going to lose this game. Joe Burrows is going to come back and have a great game, and Burrows is going to pull this one through for Cincinnati by at least 6.
Yeah, I know you. See, that's a good pick there, and I'm not sure if I agree with it, but Cincinnati won the first week, loses last week, which they shouldn't have lost last week. They gave that game away.
Yeah, Burrow had a couple bad turnovers. I got Brad, my dad, Wade is going to be really happy that you picked the Bengals. I am also picking the Bengals. It's one of the 3 underdogs that I think is going to win. With TJ Watt being out, that's going to be a big difference.
Yeah.
If Burrow has enough time, the Bengals have the weapons on offense to do it, and I think Big Ben doesn't look right. It's probably over for him in Pittsburgh, and I do think the Bengals are going to pick this.
I'm going. This is a must-win game on week 3 for Pittsburgh. They won the first game at the Bills, and everybody's like, "Wow, Pittsburgh's going to be good this year." You go and lose last week they come in there and beat Pittsburgh last week, and then you've got Cincinnati, an interdivision game, to not go 1-2 to start the season, and at home and get your fans on board. So I'm picking Pittsburgh in that game. Okay. Arizona at Jacksonville. I think that's a no-brainer. Yep. I think they're going to score more than 10. Brad thinks they're going to go under 10. That's going to be the pick there, over and under 10. It's not going to matter. Arizona's going to win that game. Yeah. You got New York Jets at Denver.
That's another one.
I think nobody's picking the Jets in that one. Denver takes that one. You got Miami at Las Vegas. I don't know how Miami is only a 4.5 point, only getting 4.5 going to Vegas.
I think the spread should be larger. It might have changed a little bit with Tua definitely being out.
Yep.
In a surprise, I'm going to go with Miami.
Okay.
I think they bounce back. I think the Raiders, being as high as they are, have a little bit of a letdown.
Yep.
I think it's going to be more that the Raiders lose the game than the Dolphins win, but that's going to be one of the surprise ones that I looked at it, and I'm going with the Dolphins.
Yep. Next game, Tampa at LA Rams. Tampa is getting 1.5 points. Brad, what do you think about that?
I think Tampa's staying on their hot streak. Gronk's going to have another 2 touchdowns, and you're going to see Tampa win.
That's one of the things, Brad, is I looked at their schedule. This is the only game that's going to hold them up in the next 5. If they win this game, they might start 8-0 on the season.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got their schedule is very, very promising for them if they can get by this West Coast late game for them.
It's in LA, but the Rams are one of those weird teams that they don't have a good home field advantage. Yep. Tampa doesn't necessarily, the fans don't travel well out to LA. It's the game of the week. It's going to be an awesome game to watch. I went with the Rams just because of the travel, but I wouldn't. I'm not going to bet on it.
Yeah.
I definitely could see Tampa Bay winning as well.
We got Seattle at Minnesota. Seattle's a 1.5 point favorite, so I like Seattle on that game going to Minnesota. Minnesota had a hard loss last week on a missed kick late in that game against Arizona, and it was an easy kick, and the guy just pushed it.
They've had 2 hard losses. They lose in overtime.
Yeah.
After getting a big kick to go to overtime against the Bengals, they lose to the Bengals. They lose on a tough one last week. Mike Zimmer is starting to get on the hot seat.
Yep.
I went with Minnesota. It's one of those weird, you're 0-2. This is make it or break it week. If you want to have a chance to make the playoffs, most of the time, if you're 0-3, you're not having a chance.
No, it's great. You got Green Bay at San Francisco, Brad. Who are you picking there?
Well, of course, I'm going to stay with Aaron Rodgers' hot hand right now. He's not going to go 1-2, so Green Bay's going to win.
Okay. And for the last game, the Monday night game, is Philly at Dallas. I'm going to let Cory take this one, and I'm not letting Brad pick this one because we know Brad would pick Dallas every time. So we're going to let you pick this as a Giants fan, see if you're non-biased to either one of these teams.
I was hoping that each team could lose. That's, I guess, not a possibility in
it's
the NFL.
It's not a 0-0 score tie.
Yeah, I was hoping for a 0-0 tie, but I would go with Dallas in Dallas.
Yep.
They're surprising me of how well they're playing on offense.
Yeah.
Dak coming back from an injury looks great. We've brought it up multiple times. Tony Pollard adding to Zeke. Their defense looks good. Dan Quinn is there, old Gator defensive coordinator. He's the defensive coordinator. I think that Dallas takes this one.
And we're going to run through our stardom and sit 'em real quick, go over some last week's scores. We got a few minutes left in the show, so we're going to run through this pretty quick. I think stardoms this week are Chase Edwards and James Connors, the running backs for the Cardinals. I think they're going to have a monster day in Jacksonville. Last week we said start Matt Stafford and Devin Singletary. Stafford had 278 yards with 2 TDs, 24 fantasy points. Singletary had 13 rushes for 81 yards and a TD for 15.1 fantasy points. So if you started both of them, great job. The sit-em has already happened for me and us. I said sit anybody on the Texans, and it proved to be right on the Thursday.
Yeah.
Because that was a tough game for them with Carolina coming into town.
And a rookie quarterback. Yeah,
rookie
it's a
quarterback.
rough time.
Yeah, and then last week we said sit Big Ben. He had 295 yards and 1 TD for 18.75 fantasy points. We said sit Robinson and Hyde, and that once again 11 touches, 47 yards for Robinson, and 2 touches and 7 yards for Hyde. So it looks like Robinson's going to start carrying the load there, but they're still not viable fantasy options. So look at that. Some sleeper picks. Mike Williams out of San Diego was targeted a ton last week.
Yeah, that's a good one. I said it, hit him earlier. Rondale Moore is a big one that I'd ride high on right now. He's getting a decent amount of targets, and he has the punt return yards. That's a decent sleeper.
My bust pick of the week, and he's not at full strength, is Nick Chubb.
Okay.
For Cleveland. I think he's got a hurt toe he's hurt a little bit. He's not at full strength. I'm going with him. I think he's going to be the bust of the week. And, I've got to eat my pride a little bit with Brad. Aaron Rodgers got me wrong, and he did well last week. You have a bust pick of the week or a pick you want to go with?
I'm going to go with David Carr just because he's outperformed what he normally has done. And as I said earlier, I think that the Raiders are going to have a letdown this week. He's someone that I would not start. I just think the Dolphins are going to bounce back. Brian Flores is a great coach. I think they'll play pretty well on defense. Even if their offense isn't looking great, I think David Carr comes back to reality a little bit.
And that's a great point. I think, they're 2-0, and I think he comes back down a little bit. We like to end the show here with some positive news around the NFL and what they like to do for people in the community. And this week, we're going to go with the Detroit Lions Foundation, and they've invested over $5 million for the growth of the game. This is a growth of the game where it works with strategic partners like organizations such as Boys and Girls Clubs of the Southeast Michigan area, Playworks Michigan, developing the child through collaboration with the Detroit Lions Academy and the City Year Detroit, as well as support from players, coaches, initiatives like the Lions Inspired Change. So, it's just great to have these players and doing things that help so many people around their community.
Yeah, it's really cool that these teams give back to their communities, especially in a place like Detroit that sometimes has been more hard luck. So it's always cool that teams give back like that.
Now, Brad, I know you're still here. We got 2 minutes left in the show. Do you have anything last to say you want to follow up this week?
I just want to say thank you for Cory coming in this week. Fantastic job. I appreciate you being able to sit in for me, and I look forward to be back in the studio next week.
Yeah, man. It's great that we were to get you online here, man, and thanks for taking here and getting on and talk to us. Cory, what do you got left, man? What do you got saying on it?
I've had a great time. I hope I get to do it again. This has been a lot of fun. This is a great atmosphere here out in Celebration Point. You can always see me next door while we're here. Come out, enjoy dinner. I always do Chomp the Block and stuff. You can check out Spurrier's and all around here. It's always a really nice time.
And where can they find you at?
I work at the Keys.
No. Twitter.
Oh, on Twitter, sorry. It's at the Cory Wade. So it's just my first name that you see on the screen, and then Wade, W-A-D-E.
Yeah.
And
go check him out. He's on there. He's always talking football. He's always posting football on there. I want to remind everybody where you can find us on Facebook Live and YouTube at Last Gasp Fantasy Podcast every Sunday morning starting at 11 a.m. Please make sure you go in there and follow and share those posts. We had great feedback last week on last week's show. Had a ton of views. We can't thank you enough. We can't thank you enough to all of our sponsors. Once again, Brad, thanks for being here. Cory, you did a great job, man. I really appreciate you filling in, man. It's like we've done this before, and it just really worked out well. And once again, thank you everybody for being live on Facebook and on YouTube, coming through. The comments were great. It was fantastic, man.
Yeah, make sure you guys subscribe, interact more. It always makes this better and a better experience for everyone involved.
And with that, man, we're wrapping it up, and I hope everybody has a great day, and thank you very much. Have a great one.